So you can blame Mike for what I have now turned my energy to in a post Brooklyn Nine-Nine world, because I'm just deep down the Andy Samberg well now. Mike put me on to Seth Meyers and the Lonely Island gang have a podcast together where they talk about SNL episodes, like inside baseball stuff. It's really interesting if you care about that type of stuff. I think it's a very enjoyable thing to listen to them recap about their time on the show in 2007. But anyways, I've been listening to that. So what has replaced my at night falling asleep TV viewing on in the background, I'm just watching season of SNL that's 2007, whatever season that is. So that's where my life has taken me now. I'm very Andy Samberg pilled, and I cannot get out of this hole. It just keeps going deeper and deeper. And the movie club for this month is not going to help that either. So blame Mike.
Was talking to Mike the other day, and it might not get any better next month either.
Oh, does that mean you're doing Hot Rod? Is that what that means?
Dom's gonna pick That's My Boy.
Okay. Oh shit! I should do That's My Boy instead.
I think either way, I'm gonna watch those movies because I'm a sick person. I need help. 2007 SNL though holds up in a lot of ways. Still pretty funny, pretty good. They had a really good cast. It's very, very enjoyable. A lot of big players on that one. Seems like you're gonna say something, Mike. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna say that it's true, and I feel like, well, actually, I'm gonna walk all that back. People have their opinions about the best casts. You know what I mean? I feel like it might depend on just how old you were when you were watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if you grew up watching, whatever seasons, and then you get to this current season, you'd be like, oh, it was better when I was younger. Because we were sitting there and, I'm not saying that the sketch was bad, but I feel like after you'd walked away and Jen's like, oh, put on the Gap sketch, and she was getting a lot of big chuckles out of that one.
Which one?
I mean?
The Gap sketch?
The Gap Girls sketch. The one with Sandler, Spade.
Spade.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's my favorite of SNL.
I think Chris Farley era is probably her favorite overall era, which is not bad. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But I mean, Andy Samberg, Bill Hader, Fred Armisen.
I don't think I know a single.
Kristen Wiig.
I hate Kristen Wiig. I'm not a Kristen Wiig fan.
Oh, you're crazy. She's hilarious.
I think.
No, you have bad takes. It's fine. You can just. Say
I don't think I don't.
Maybe I'll
think
pick
I
1984, so Brenden comes off of Kristen Wiig.
Wait, am I the only person that likes Kristen Wiig?
I like her.
The only reason I don't like Kristen Wiig is I've heard she's an asshole to people outside of SNL. So I was like, oh god.
Interesting.
Her John Goodman story. I'm like, fuck her.
I don't know any of this. Everyone's an asshole.
I don't know if I can tell you a single Andy Samberg skit from SNL. That's I don't know if I minus the Lonely Island stuff.
Well, I mean that's a big portion of that era.
But I mean
SNL.
But that's the pre-recorded stuff. I mean more like a Saturday Night Live skit. That's I don't know if I can think
in
of
a lot of sketches. He's in a lot of. Now that I'm watching it more too, I don't remember him being on the show in that way as much, but he definitely is there. Anyways, we got a great show for you tonight. Welcome everyone to the Pass the Controller podcast, a show where a couple of best friends talk about the latest in video games and nerd culture. Sometimes we have guests, and one of those days is today. As always, I'm your host, Brendan Groom, and joining me, of course, is the anime senpai himself, Mr. Michael Desir. Mike, how are you doing tonight? Okay. Also, yeah? Okay. The Dung King. Do you want me to call you the Dung King because you're bucket?
I didn't know that. I was wondering what was on his head. I couldn't figure it out for a few seconds.
It does
Ignoring
match
that, I've also got this bad boy.
Gross.
I haven't tried it yet. That's why I got it.
It's not good. It's not good.
Oh well, I've got it now.
You go get a Al Cappuccino just as a backup.
Yeah, right.
Also joining us, of course, is the Fortnite father himself, Mr. Todd Gary. Todd, how are you doing?
Good.
How much money have you spent on the Fortnite shit already?
I spent a lot because I bought Scissorhands, I bought Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
In there now, yeah.
Yeah, I bought that. What else did I buy? I bought Spider Woman.
You bought the Monster Mash.
Oh, about the Monster
I don't
Mash,
want to
yeah.
talk about it. I'm so mad. I'm so
Bro,
mad.
when you were gone that weekend and Dom said that, I'm like, I was gonna text him like, dude, you better fucking buy this because you're not gonna get
I
this.
almost texted one of you and said, "Can one of you
Just
gift it
buy
to
it.
me?" And
Yeah,
like,
you should have told me. I would
you
have.
can do it from the site.
I
That's
know,
why
I didn't even think to
I
do
had
that.
said it then.
uh, joining us, of course, is the Disney daddy himself, Dominic 40. Dom, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You didn't say how you thought the end of Brooklyn Nine-Nine was, but we can save that for
Did I not say that?
after. I don't think so.
You spoke to me about it because I was at your
Okay.
place
All
at
right.
some
Yeah.
point.
All right. We can get there. We can get there. And joining us tonight, of course, returning guest, the first time on like the regular show. We've had Lucas on a few different times for spoiler casts and other breakout shows with like mixes of people, but this is the first time you're joining the full dynamic, and I apologize in advance for the chaos. But welcome, of course, the one and only Lucas White. Lucas, how are you tonight?
I'm so tired.
Yeah, I
Oh
hear that.
God. This month, I feel like quote unquote review season isn't really what it used to be even a few years ago.
Yeah.
But what has come through, I think it just hit me like a truck this month. I'm so tired.
Yeah, it's a big RPG year too. I feel like you've been hitting the coal mines.
From like the end of September, I had the Master Detective Archives, and that game was long.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was that game or just having to immediately jump on to the next things after that, but it's just like I have nothing left.
Yeah.
And the month is not over.
Yep. There's end in sight. I feel like late November might be better, but maybe not.
Maybe
We'll see.
I haven't even looked yet.
Well, we'll get through tonight. We'll have a good time. We'll hang out and we'll talk about some Saga because I don't even need to think about it. I know for a fact, I'm just going to say this, that no one else on the show has played a Saga game. You are the Saga champion. So maybe you can turn some heads here within the show, and then hopefully people listening out there can hear the good word that is the Saga series.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
But before we do that, a couple of quick housekeeping things. This episode of the Pass Control Podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Goodnight Fatty. If you're in the Salem, Massachusetts area or the North Shore of Massachusetts on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, make sure to head on down to 1 Washington Square and get yourself a delicious fatty. And if you don't know what a fatty is, check them out on social media at Goodnight Fatty. And I promise you will not be disappointed. The PTC Movie Club for this month is Mike's pick, and it is Pop Star Never Stoppin' Not whatever the fuck the rest of the title is. Never Stop Not Stoppin'?
So close.
What is it then?
Never stop, never stopping.
Never Stop, Never Stopping. There you go. So continue this Andy Samberg pilled journey with me and watch Pop Star. We will chat about it maybe next week, if not the week after. Again, as I've been saying all month with the holiday, it does affect us in a more drastic way than maybe some people are affected by Halloween. So we may push the movie episode an additional week. So be prepared for that. If you're really looking forward to our conversation, it might be the following week and not next week. I think that is it for housekeeping. I think we can just roll right into stuff. So to pull it back quickly to your query about Brooklyn Nine-Nine's finale, have you watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Lucas? Is that a show that has made its way onto your eyeballs at all?
No, I don't get to like do things like watch TV shows nearly as much as I want.
Yeah,
but I like aware of it.
Okay,
I haven't seen it. Yeah,
do you watch comedies at all when you watch stuff, or no? Like television comedies?
No, usually I think like the last time I watched like a sitcom that I was really into was Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment 23. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I don't know what that is. I don't know if
That's the one with Kristen Ritter, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kristen Ritter. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like just the worst person you'll ever meet, and she's a roommate with like a really kind of like goody two shoes kind of character.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just like, just constantly like she'll do like the worst possible thing, and you're like, I'm trying to help you, but it's like, no, you're sabotaging my life. And it's Eric Andre's in it, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's got that kind of energy.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. I wonder, is it? You know if it's streaming anywhere? Is it on something?
It was on Netflix when I watched it.
Okay,
That was a few years ago.
interesting.
What's
Doesn't look like it's streaming anywhere. It looks like you have to pay for it. It's like $1.99 though.
That's not bad.
It's probably $1.99 per
It's
episode.
good. It's only like 2 seasons. It's
Okay. I'll have to check it out. It sounds interesting. Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it was one of those things that I kind of just fell into. I still feel like no one really talks about that show. And then I needed something different as like my background sort of, I like a good comedy. I like to laugh a little bit. And it's, I think, very consistently funny throughout if you like that style of, not The Office because it's not breakaway mockumentary, but similar humor to that, Parks and Rec, stuff like that. Like it falls kind of in that tempo, I think, but really consistently funny. I enjoyed my time with it. And the last season, to not go too deep into the weeds with it, I did like it overall. I think the finale I have some mixed feelings with, specifically the second episode of the finale, just because I can't decide if I didn't like the episode that much or if I just was like, oh, I'm sad the show was over, because the season was also short. It was like 10 or 12 episodes. It was a abbreviated season. So
the finale was not Halloween, but like the Halloween thing, right?
The finale is a 2-part heist.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's really good. The first part of it is good. And the second part of it does have some good moments, like specifically between Captain Holt and Jake. I think there's like some good sentimental moments and stuff like that. I liked it overall. I think the stuff that certain characters go through within that season of the show, obviously the show is commenting on sort of how people feel about the police in the real world currently. And I think the characters that had opinions and did certain things in regards to that type of thing, I think it made sense for those characters. Like, I don't think it was like an unbelievable thing that certain people felt certain ways and did certain things. I think it was very like within the bounds of what those characters kind of have always been, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it just felt like it was derailed from like the
Being
direction
else.
it was heading.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, like it's not unbelievable that those characters got to where they were.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like we didn't see that progress at all, so we like went from like
the show not being that to being that
in the department to like all of a sudden now everybody's doing their own kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it was a matter too of like, because I did a little reading, because obviously the show ended before I started watching it. I did a little reading about how it got dropped at Fox, and then it got picked right up at NBC in the last 2 seasons, where they didn't really want to fully commit to full seasons of the show. They kind of were just like, yeah, we want to pick it up because we, whatever, but we're not like fully indebted to here's a 22 episode season of this thing. So, but I liked it. Again, I'm just down this Andy Samberg hole now. I have a problem. I'm not even like the biggest Andy Samberg fan. I just like, I don't know. I'm just caught in this trap right now. I can't get out.
He's not the biggest fan currently, but he's going to battle that person soon enough.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
He's got to watch That's My Boy a few times before he gets that reward, though.
That's true. You have to do that. It's the final test.
He's got to get a Backstreet Boys tattoo on his back.
None of these things are going to happen.
Backstreet Boys?
I didn't watch that movie. Oh, wait. No, this movie,
though.
yes.
No. New Kids. It was New Kids.
New Kids on the Block?
Yeah.
Oh.
New Kids on the Block tattoo.
Jen will appreciate that. But anyways, that's enough Andy Samberg. Well, what have you been playing or watching anything, Mike? Anything making its way towards you, or you just been in the chaos of October and doing the same old shit?
Yeah. Not playing anything particularly worthwhile. I think I'm caught up on Agatha now. I think, I started watching Civil War like last week, and I think I paused it. I need to
Still haven't watched that.
Are you enjoying it so far? That's the A24 movie you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's A24,
I mean,
right?
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started it. It's fine. I just was like, I think I started it late, and I didn't feel like committing the rest of my night to that movie.
That's fair. Any anime piquing your interest at the moment?
I need to start Don and I need to start Dragon Ball Daima. I've been watching Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War arc. That's about it.
Okay. Is Daima like a new thing, or is it?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a show too.
Yes.
Did Toriyama write it?
Yes.
Oh,
I
interesting.
believe so. I think it's like the last thing he did.
Okay. Interesting. I might have to give that a shot. You should read Sandland, Mike. It's a quick. You still haven't done that, right?
I have not.
I feel like Lucas, you probably have read Sandland.
I haven't actually.
Interesting. It's just
I
a
should.
one volume. It's a quick read. I liked it. I thought it was a fun time.
I played the game a little bit, and that was kind of cute. And then I watched some of the show that's on. I think it's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney. I knew there was a show. It's on Disney Plus. That seems like a weird
I
place
think
for
it's
that to
on
be.
Hulu and then also Disney Plus because it's on Hulu.
Gotcha. Yeah, the game has been something I wanted to play, but I just didn't want to go out of my way or pay full price for it at the moment. Because I don't think it's going to be a game that I'm like, oh, this is my jam. It seems like it's something at some point I want to just mess around with for a bit. I do want to check out Sparking Zero though, but I just don't have the time for that at the moment.
Oh yeah, I do need to do that.
Looks fun enough. I'm not like the biggest arena fighter, like go out of my way, but I'll enjoy, a Budokai or
It seems
whatever.
it seems like despite my feelings on arena fighters, that game everyone seems to love it so much. I'm like, well, maybe it's not gonna fall into the same traps because I think I own Budokai. I have to look. I definitely looked recently too. I've got whatever was on the GameCube.
I think that was 3. Budokai Tenkaichi 3. I don't know.
I think it might have been the first Budokai Tenkaichi.
If any of those were on the GameCube, I could be wrong.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Keep talking. Yeah. My game's right over there.
Because you had. It doesn't help that like the names of those games all got changed when they came over to America.
Yeah. There's also like I feel like so many of them. It's the same thing with the Naruto ones. There's just so many of them, and I couldn't. I don't think I could tell you the order in which any of those different named things existed. Yeah. What about you, Todd? What have you been playing this week?
I played a little bit of Black Ops from Game Pass. I dived into it's just more of the same. I don't know what it would take to get me to fucking really be diehard in the Call of Duty again. It's not bad. It's fine. Guns feel good.
When's the last time you've even cared that much about Call? I haven't cared about Call of Duty. I mean, I don't think I've ever really cared about Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I think the last time I actually went out of my way to play it would have been like on the Xbox 360.
Modern Warfare. Yeah. Probably Modern Warfare when I got you to play it just for gunfight. That was probably the last time I was into it, which was like 3 years ago, maybe. It's fine. The campaign's pretty good so far, so I'm kind of.
I've heard the campaign is good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's oh cool.
Is that just Budokai? Like straight up Budokai, Mike?
It looks like just Budokai. Yeah.
Oops, I'll focus back up. Yeah, just Budokai.
I miss game discs.
Right. So I'll probably play that a little bit and drop out of that pretty quickly because I didn't have to pay for it because I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't on Game Pass.
Yeah,
because you free up some space on your hard drive.
Dude, like I had to fucking delete everything.
It's like 300 gigabytes.
350. Yeah. 350 gigabytes. Like
350.
And it was and
that's why I was like. I like considered it the other day when you were like, all right, I'm going to download it. And then you were like, it's 350. I was like, all right, then I can't delete enough.
It's like, what are we doing? Like, how can they not compress that better or something? I don't know. But the other game I played and finished was Neva, which was fucking incredible. It's so fucking good. It's absolutely gorgeous. The story is so fucking good. Everything about it is good. Like I don't even have a single bad thing to say about it. It's probably one of my favorite games I played this year. At first, I wasn't sure about it because I was like, "Oh, this combat's kind of basic and whatever." But like, it opens. It does a lot more like puzzle solving and everything the more you get into it. But the story is fucking amazing. And like I said, I was telling Brenden quite a bit. I was like, the art direction and like sound design in this game is so fucking good too. Yeah, it's awesome. Highly recommend it.
It's once I get out of the hole that I'm in with stuff, Neva is a top priority, especially because it's pretty quick. I think it's like 6 hours or something.
Yeah,
so.
It's like 6 hours max.
Yeah, I'm in desperate need of a little morsel, just a quick little. Oh, I can finish this in 1-2 sittings. Great, please give me one of these games. Yeah, that's speaking of Devolver published stuff. Mike and I went to Devolver had a listening party for the soundtrack for Cult of the Lamb expansion at a bar in Salem, an arcade bar, Bit Bar, and it was a good time. It was a couple hours. Like they had a bunch of stuff there. They had some themed cocktails and mocktails. People were dressed up. I was like kind of surprised, like just people in Salem just dressed up as like Cult of the Lamb characters and showed up that way. And it was a pretty good showing. It was a good time. We had a good evening there.
And just one other thing.
Friends, yeah.
I want everyone listening to fucking watch Transformers 1 because I watched it with the kids last night. Fucking movie's incredible. Like it's up. Like I think my two of my favorite movies this year is The Wild Robot and fucking two cartoon movies. It's like and Transformers 1. But honestly, the movie's incredible. And I texted these guys last night and I was telling them like I don't know if you watched the first trailer for this movie, but it looks like goofy jokes, slapsticky, and like whoever fucking made the trailer for that movie needs to fucking be fired and never given another trailer to do ever again. Because I was saying like the Transformers lore in this movie gets so fucking good, especially like the last 40 minutes of this movie. I was like literally like even Amanda fucking loved it, and like we were like I was like trying to tell like Logan, I'm like shut up, like he's 4 years old. He's like but the last 40 minutes are incredible. The whole movie's great. It was just really 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 good. They better make a sequel. I'll be so mad if they don't make a sequel because they need to make a sequel.
It's not doing well.
It did 122 million in theaters, but like I mean, a lot of these movies, like the Ninja
122
Turtles,
million, but I think it's had a budget of 75 or something. Like
yeah,
that.
so it's not even. But Mutant Mayhem also kind of did the same, and they're making a sequel on that because I think that had some serious legs on streaming and everything. So I'm just hoping that this takes off in streaming and kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, it's not on streaming though. You had to buy it digital.
I bought it. Yeah.
So I mean, if it does a lot of digital downloads, I mean that I think is probably a big factor into what they do with it further. It's a really weird movie because I mean I haven't seen it yet, but like to kind of echo what you said, I don't think it was marketed that well. Like it has a pretty robust cast, and
the voice actors are crazy.
I kind of didn't even know the movie really existed until it came out. I was like, I've never seen anything for this movie. I was very like confused by that, especially given the spaces that we all typically kind of congregate in. It just seems like a very easy thing to be marketed to me, and I feel like I never saw anything for this movie, which was bizarre. I'll probably.
And you know what the craziest thing about that movie is the usually people like hate on anything when they like reintroduce like an IP or something, and if you look at Rotten Tomatoes right now, the user rating is 98%. That's insane. Like usually like people are like fuck this, like
you mean the popcorn meter.
Yeah, the popcorn, yeah, whatever it's called. And then, but like, because like is it Peter Cullen who does the voice of Optimus?
Yeah.
Usually, all those people are like, "Fuck that, he's not in the movie." It's blah blah blah. But like, I expected like it to be ripped apart, and that's like sitting strong at 98%, which is kind of crazy. I feel like usually those movies don't hold up on that side of things.
Yeah,
go see it, buy it, watch it, do whatever.
I'm not an anti-Transformers person. Transformers is not like the thing I'm usually going out of my way to do.
I bought myself a Soundwave the other day.
Oh, nice.
Like you're.
I think Steve Buscemi's Soundwave in the movie.
Yeah. Well, you get the idea. There he is.
All props tonight. What about you, Dom? What have you been playing?
I think the last time we recorded, I had said that I was debating on what my next game was going to be. That's correct. Will beat Zelda this weekend.
Oh wow, you blasted through that.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that so far?
I mean, a game where you play a Zelda and you just make a bed, like. No, I enjoy it. It's like obviously it's like different than traditional like Zelda games, but it feels like a Zelda game. So
yeah,
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say Logan asked for that for Christmas. Bad idea, probably. I think it's a bad idea. If Liam was asked for it, maybe it would be a different story. But Logan, I don't think Logan.
I mean, you would know how what level of game he can handle better. But
yeah, it seems like it's probably a lot.
You could probably play the intro section and get him like out of that, and then he can just walk around and do stuff. But you don't really have like a direct attack, so it might not.
It's
be
not sword. It's not sword and shield. Like
yeah.
So it might be like not as engaging for him to just like run around and swipe a sword or something. So that might be not the best thing to drop him into. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you think when you're done with it, because I'm about maybe halfway through and I had to pause for other stuff, but I really enjoy my time with it. But I'm also a Zelda sicko, so take my opinion as you will. Other than the stuff we talked about recently, and obviously what we're going to talk about tonight, Romancing SaGa, I haven't been playing too much other stuff just because I haven't had the chance to. What have you been playing, Lucas, lately, other than Romancing SaGa, that you feel like chatting about?
Yeah, so there's one game that I've been playing not for work, so I kind of want to give that a shout out. Well, something I kind of tripped over. So lately, I want to say like the past year or two, I've been really getting into like first-person dungeon crawlers, like wizardry and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So this game I found, it's called Dungeon Antiqua. And it's like $7 on Steam. I think like one person made it, and it's like they took wizardry and Final Fantasy 1 and smushed them together.
Mm-hmm.
So like the sprites and kind of like the musical style and like the UI and stuff looks very Final Fantasy 1, but in the gameplay it's like you go out into a dungeon and you can't see your surroundings past where you've already been, and so you're kind of filling it in as you explore. And like the combat's really like the numbers are tuned up pretty high, so it's like, a random monster can like two-shot your dude, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you have to like, you go, it's just like wizardry, like you go in, do as much as you can before like you get just garbage beaten out of you, and then you have to like run back to town and revive your guys if anyone's dead, or like sell stuff to get like maybe like the next slightly better thing, and then back into the dungeon and see how it goes next time. And it's really simple, but just like the way it blends the two things together is like really interesting. And it's like pretty fast paced, and it looks like there's like a lot to it in terms of like unlocking new classes and like the sort of like grinding ceiling for your units. So it's really just like this sort of like, you got a little chunk of time, just go in and play the dungeon a little bit, and move on to whatever else you're doing.
Yeah. I pulled it up. It looks gorgeous. The pixel art looks fantastic.
Yeah, just like one of those neat little, like, I am like one guy and I have this idea of a little mashup, and just like executed it perfectly.
Yeah. No, it looks cool. I'll have to check it out. It's like only a couple bucks on Steam, it looks like.
Yeah, like I think $7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To add that to my list. Looks pretty good. Anything else you've been playing? Or we can dive into Romancing SaGa.
Or yeah, everything else is.
Yeah, I mean, even if like shit from the year that you wanna, because I mean, you've been on for other specific, like we're talking about a specific game, so we haven't. If there's other things you wanna give the spotlight to or shout out, feel free, or we can jump into Romancing SaGa.
Yeah, I think like the new Sonic game's worth a shout out. The Shadow stuff is just really good.
You're a Sonic sicko, so
like kinda. I'm
just
up
giving
and
you
down.
shit.
Yeah. I'm weird about Sonic, even among like people that like Sonic, because I'll be like almost feeling like I'm the 3D Sonic defender, but then the one I like is the one that no one else likes, and like vice versa. And it's weird, but
you prefer
I think
3D Sonic over 2D Sonic, or are they just different for you?
It's a good question. I think like the 3D Sonics I really like, but then I just sort of have that like reverence for 2D Sonic that I think everyone else does. I think also like I got a kid in the house who really likes Sonic, so there's like that sort of sentimental attachment to it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But like just as far as like 3D Sonic games usually are bad because they're like janky, and the controls you'll hit the button to do one thing and the game will do something different, and you're gonna just like go sail off into the abyss or whatever. But in this one, like all the shit works like as advertised. It's like the most like tightly designed and like polished one of these games I think has like ever been, and so it's just it's only like 4 or 5 hours long, at least like the Shadow stuff, and it's just so fun to play.
Is the Shadow stuff is not like Sonic Generations is a lot of remix stuff from previous Sonic games, right? That's Generations.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a.
Is the Shadow stuff anything new, or is it also just a bunch of remix stuff?
It is remix stuff from other games. But it's like, I don't know how to put it. It's like those games that they're drawing from, because Shadow was only in a few games, are like so far back from like even where Generations, because Generations is like 10 plus years ish old. It's like a remaster.
Yeah.
So this is drawing from like, I think the most recent game in it is like the 2006 game that everyone dunked on, rightfully. So it's like all of that stuff is rebuilt with like contemporary tools.
Okay.
So it's like if you look at Sonic Generations, it's like those games then brought up to like 360 level of like fidelity.
Yeah.
But for this, it's like that plus the additional gap of another 10 years of video game progress.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like that much further removed from the original, I guess, but it is still like older levels. And it's got like a similar story where it's like, oh, the Shadow's lost in time. Here's the old levels. But then it borrows stuff from like Frontiers, which is like they did a whole bunch of different things in terms of like the gameplay structure. So it's like it feels like a new game in a way that the other half doesn't.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's really well made.
Yeah, you reviewed it too, right? Yeah, is that over on Shack?
That is on Shack News. Yeah.
So go check that out and get Lucas's full thoughts on that and support that review. Absolutely. What is your favorite 3D Sonic game? Is it Colors? I feel like we've talked about this maybe before.
I think it's Frontiers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Colors the one I bought that I hated? That was a remake recently?
Very possible.
Yeah. It is a recent re-release, yeah.
That was my first like 3D Sonic ever. So it's like I've never really played any 3D Sonics. I remember just being like, I give up with this.
Sometimes the way you interact with like things that we've all played is so bizarre to me. That's like this is my first 3D Sonic is Sonic Colors.
I'm not a big Sonic guy. I've never I only played like the side-scrolling Sonics. That's the only ones I care about.
But your kids like Sonic or no? I feel like Liam does. No,
Liam likes Frontiers.
Anymore. He's out of that.
No, Liam he liked Frontiers, but like yeah.
My nephew loves Sonic.
He loved the movies.
Yeah, he likes the movies too. But it's so weird. Like, my nephew loves Nintendo stuff, and part of that is because of me, because he just associates me with that. So it's like, I think whatever. But he loves Sonic too. But he doesn't play a lot of the games. He just watches them on YouTube being played by other people. And I'm like,
doesn't make any sense.
I was like, I get it, but also, no, play the game. What are you doing?
I just brought Liam to he does karate now, and he was at a Halloween party for the karate. And some kid, 7, 8 years old, comes in as fucking Marshmallow. Like, how do fucking kids even know who fucking the DJ guy? Like, I don't.
Fortnite.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, probably.
That's it. Then.
I would assume
100%.
so. Yeah.
I was so confused. I'm like, what? And this kid had turntables and like music. This kid came in.
What did your kids dress as this year?
Deadpool and
how many Deadpool movies has he seen?
Well, that's the funny thing, dude. So many. When we went trick or treating downtown in Beverly, so many kids were like, "Why does he get to dress as Deadpool?" It's like a 4-year-old kid with a fucking Deadpool costume on. And Liam's Harry Potter. Yeah. Well, Liam's gonna be Bill Cipher. Amanda's making Liam a Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls costume, and he's in the process right now. It's ridiculous.
That's pretty cool.
I went to see Alien Covenant at the Alamo Draft House. Not Covenant. Jesus Christ,
Romulus.
And they do like the pre-shows, and it was all these like toy commercials for aliens. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck?
Wrong marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like that with Deadpool and stuff.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's very funny.
I mean, clearly they made a child's costume for Deadpool, so
yeah.
Don't judge me, but I tried showing like Logan and Liam a little bit of Deadpool 1, like stuff that like
I wouldn't
stuff.
Listen,
They ran out of the room.
I'm so surprised that Once Upon a Deadpool is
You can't get it anywhere.
Nowhere to be found.
No. Dude, my kids are such good kids though that they're like, no, Daddy, shut it off. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's okay. And they're like literally running out of the room and like yelling and everything. I'm like, guys, come on.
But that's kind of like my nephew. My nephew is, and I feel like this is a thing that a lot of younger kids are really into for some reason. I don't know if it's Five Nights at Freddy's fault or something else, but my nephew loves like I don't know, horror movie protagonists or what? Maybe they're not the protagonists.
They're not the protagonists.
Well, whatever. Like
who? Like Michael Myers?
Yes.
Fortnite.
Lots of Ghostface kids dressed up as Ghostface.
I don't, but he doesn't really play Fortnite. He mostly plays, like, he'll dabble with stuff that I buy for him. He never really plays it, but he plays mostly like Minecraft and Roblox. That's what he plays. So I don't think there's a lot of that. Maybe in Roblox. I don't know how Roblox functions. Maybe that makes me sound super old.
Wild Shape is not a Roblox apparently. So.
But he loves, like, he's obsessed with Michael Myers, like Freddy Krueger, like all this stuff. But he doesn't watch the movies. And my mom, because my mom has them most of the time, she'll be like, all right, if you want to watch one of these, like, I can help you pick one and we can watch one that, maybe she thinks is not as bloody or whatever the fucking problem is going to be. And he doesn't actually want to watch them. But he was upset. Like, he came to Salem a few weeks ago. Mike met us downtown, and he wanted to come just so he could dress up as Michael Myers and just walk around and, like, scare people. And I'm just like, what is going on right now?
Well, dude, like watching Logan play fucking Minecraft, like me and you've talked about Minecraft. It's like, I don't understand it. If you see what this kid's world looks like right now, I've never helped him with a fucking thing. It's insane. And me and Amanda are like, oh, is he super smart? We're confused because we don't know how Minecraft works. And he's got like crazy buildings with bat caves and a Deadpool house. Dude, it's insane. I don't understand how he does it. Because that game is so challenging to me to try to even figure out. It's
like when our parents think we're like super smart because we figured out how to set the VCR times. Like, how did you do this?
Right.
We got to that point. And I was like, whoa, look at this. My kid's a genius in Minecraft.
That's exactly what it is, honestly.
Yeah, 100%.
It absolutely is. To pull it back for a second, do you have a favorite 2D Sonic, Lucas?
Honestly, those all kind of blend together for me. I think like I like the sprites in like Sonic 3 and Knuckles the most. Just Sonic's a little like, I don't know. He almost looks a little more jacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little more expressive too.
Yeah, a little more detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because like Sonic being in like that media space, Sonic's such a like discourse cesspool sometimes.
Yeah.
So it feels like liking a Sonic game is like, taking some kind of like weird stance.
Yeah.
You can't tell people. Yeah.
I'm on the Sonic platform.
Just like, man, they're just like fun. They feel like arcade games to me.
Yeah.
Like playing Sonic Forces, which is probably the most controversial one that I like. A lot of it is just like you're running and then there's like crazy stuff happening in the background. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of playing like arcade games from like the 2000s or whatever, where they're like based kind of on like Dreamcast hardware. You can kind of tell.
Yeah.
You're usually just like, it's probably like you're just sitting there and shooting at things or something. Like there's like a game where you're on like a water, like a jet ski or something. You've got like a harpoon gun. I forget the name of the game, but it just has that vibe to it.
Yeah, you're describing it that way has now just immediately given me a weird whiplash of how I personally feel about Sonic games and interact with them, and approaching especially like specific modern 3D ones in that lens of like, oh, it's more of like an arcadey game. That is actually making me like immediately appreciate certain things more about some of those things. I mean, Sega makes a lot of arcade games; they always have. That makes sense. Like it kind of fits into what they do. I'm also a bad person to say anything about Forces too, because I played Forces during a charity stream and I played it like straight through. So I have opinions on that game because I sat down and played it for until I finished it. So I'm not the person to weigh in on that game.
That game has issues. Like,
yeah,
honesty is important.
Of course. I think I agree with you though, but it's probably very nostalgia based. Is that I have Sonic 3 and Knuckles came out at like the right time for me age wise, so it's like tied to me childhood wise. I think I like that more than any other like older Sonic game. I like Mania too. I think Mania is a really good.
It is great.
Like reapproach to 2D Sonic in a modern era. So it's really good. But I think I still would just, not put thought into it and just say Sonic 3 is my favorite.
I'd have to go with 2, just because I can't the pinball level, the casino level, like it's just it's just etched in my brain as a kid, that zone. So it's like it automatically goes to that one.
Something really cool now that I think about it was Sonic Origins when that came out. It has this way you can play where it just puts all, I think 3, maybe even CD, it puts them all together, and it has these little like openings and endings for each game, and sort of just kind of like puts the whole series together as like a whole thing. And then,
I need to spend more time in that game.
It's really neat, yeah.
Just also since we're talking about it, if anybody is looking for Sonic and Shadow Generations, it's called, the new one.
Yeah, Generations.
It's on Woot right now for $10 off.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's got to be a mistake. I saw that yesterday. I was like, huh?
It's back up.
It's bizarre. It's got to be an error. But
they should be locking all that shit down. They're like, wait, we just sold 1 million copies before the game came out. We need to cut all our we're afraid this is gonna flop sale stuff off.
Yeah. I'll get to it at some point because I did Generations. I was up and down with. I think some of the stuff that was like tied to whatever. I don't know how they differentiate in the game. Just old Sonic, Fat Sonic, whatever that Sonic is supposed to be.
Yeah,
I like. Oh, you don't like those stages?
No, they don't.
I like some of them.
Feel good. Like a lot of them have just like a lot of like visual noise. Like playing it again was like it was really hard for me to like, especially in like the Green Hill and stuff where there's a lot of trees and everything. It was hard for me to like keep track of where I was.
Okay. Yeah.
At times. Yeah.
Oh, Sonic.
Oh, Sonic, indeed.
With that being said, I guess we can pivot over to Romancing SaGa. So you've obviously finished the game, reviewed it, so definitely also check out Lucas's review over on Shack News. And you were also on the Spawn on Me podcast chatting with Cam and was Khalif also on that episode, or?
No, it was just me and Cam.
Okay. So you guys chatted about that over there, so check that out as well. I have not finished the game yet, but I don't personally care if you talk about spoilers at all. If it makes sense for things you want to share, that's totally fine with me. It doesn't really matter. But for me, this is my first SaGa game. And I am very much enjoying myself. And
hell yeah.
I don't know how many because this game has very unique mechanics and like sort of systems built into it. I don't know how many of those things persist within the SaGa universe. Like, I don't know if that series, if the inheritance system, the way that battling functions with like the formations and how you are leveling up based on like, using certain attacks within Glimmer. Is that what the new unlocking a new move is called? A Glimmer? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How all of that stuff functions. I don't know how much of that persists throughout the series, but I can't even think of and not that I've played every RPG out there, but I can't even think of another RPG that I've played or know of that has similar sort of systems built into it. I'm really enjoying my time with it. I wish I had the code for it a little bit earlier, or at least like not linked up to when I was away in New York, because I haven't had as much time with it as I wish I had. But from what I've played so far, I've really, really enjoyed myself with it. And to answer your plea that I know you had said in your review, it will not be the end of me dabbling in SaGa. That is for sure.
Oh yeah.
But what are you take it where you want to take it. If you want it broadly, granular, or whatever, however you want to chat about.
Oh man. So yeah, I guess to kind of bounce off what you were saying, there really isn't a lot like these games, and when you do run into something, it's clearly inspired by Saga or someone who worked on these games previously.
Okay.
I was working on it. Because like you said, like just the way you like build your characters is so far off of what you would normally expect when you're playing something that looks kind of like, you know, Final Fantasy or whatever.
Yeah.
Gosh, so man, I don't even know where to. It's tough because they're so. It feels like to explain Saga, you have to. Like my instinct is to go all the way back.
Yeah,
which is not productive at all.
Well, I'm assuming the answer is no. But was this your first time playing Romancing SaGa 2, or did you play the original? Because the original was only a Japanese title. So did you play?
So I hate to be that guy. I gotta correct you a little bit.
Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. So
no, so it's good. Yeah. So the original game it was Super Famicom. It never got translated officially.
Oh, it got a mobile port, right?
Yeah, there was a remaster.
Yes.
It came out on mobile. I think it was on Switch, and it kind of trickled out to other platforms too. But yeah, so that was like an HD version with some like external adjustments, but it was basically the same game.
Okay.
It sort of had a panic button to it because this was a game where you could back yourself into a corner really easily to where it was just like you're better off restarting the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you could hit the button and it would take you back to the beginning, but it would like be a fake new game plus.
Okay. So you would you keep all your progress, like character progress and stuff. Interesting.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even think I know of another game that does that.
Yeah, I think it was specifically for those remasters because they were like, damn, if we want people, you know, especially people in the West who, you know, didn't grow up with this level of degeneracy, if we want them to actually enjoy this game, we need to have something.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
So basically with Romancing SaGa 2, it's a game that's built on systems, and there's a bunch of systems, whether it's like how the game progresses, how your characters get stronger, how even the story works as far as like both like progressing the main story and then finding other pieces of story. And the thing about that game was it didn't tell you how any of it worked. It was completely like the opposite of God, what is that turn of phrase that people are using? Player sexual. Like this game just doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to get into this game, you have to figure everything out yourself. Everything. And that includes how getting stronger works, how to get more skills, everything. And if that clicks for you, and it really clicked for me, I think it's really rewarding to like not just like kind of figure out how things work, but then like once you do understand, to then be able to be like, oh, okay, so this is how I'm going to build my team now. Like such and such has happened. I'm kind of reacting to it. So now I'm going to kind of bounce off of that sort of like randomness or seeming randomness because there's no way to know.
Yeah.
And then kind of like sort of like take control back, if that makes sense. That's really fulfilling. But it's also like that's not an easy sell to like normal people.
Yeah.
So for this, with the remake, they basically just yank the curtain down and they just tell you everything. They show you how everything works. There's like quest logs, there's waypoints everywhere. Every system that comes up, it explains how it works. You can see like in the menus, it's just like everything. One of their biggest goals was like, we understand that there's that like people who grew up in this game or people who kind of tripped over it and they had like it just like clicked with them for one reason or another. They like it. but we feel like it's not necessarily, reasonable to hide that much information from the player if we want them to have a good time. And notably, this isn't like the main Saga team working on this. It's the people that made the Trials of Mana remake from a few years ago.
Yes, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, hey, we're doing our own thing. We're getting new games made again. But we also want to make a remake aside from like the remasters and the new games. So you just made this other remake that did really well. Why don't you try doing Saga? And that's kind of their approach, is like, let's make this game. Let's figure out how to make it approachable and understandable without compromising the stuff that makes it stand out.
Yeah.
And that was something I was kind of worried about going in. I was like, my biggest concern was like, okay, I understand that this isn't going to be the game I'm used to, where I have to put so much of my like brain power into figuring out or remembering, and I don't remember things very well, so like figuring out again how things work, and then kind of do my usual Saga thing from there. But what's it like when I don't have to be that engaged on like a fundamental level, where I can like just put even more energy into customizing my party and figuring out kind of what story things I want to do, and playing with just all the little pieces you can play with. And I think it worked.
Yeah. You ended up giving it a 9, I believe. Yeah. So as someone who is so invested in the Saga series, for them to nail it at that level, I think is not a given for someone like you that is very fluent in Saga and loves the series, appreciates the games, and wants more people to play them. The specifically the inheritance system in the way that leveling up works, is that persistent in other Saga games?
So the inheritance thing, that's only this game.
Okay.
That's like their sort of like big marquee gimmick for Romancing SaGa 2.
Because it's like extremely interesting. Like
it's really cool.
I'm kind of confused how no one has, that at least I've seen, has like really kind of done that. It just seems like a no-brainer to play around with that system.
It's also cool because it's like, it's one of the ways the game still kind of messes with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple little pieces where it's like, okay, I understand that you had to like add clarity and add information here, but then there's spots where they deliberately still kind of hold back a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I think are really effective.
So to kind of like explain it to these three and anyone else that's listening that might not know, it's like essentially you are in phases of the game, you are like an emperor, and for whatever reason pops up that you are going to like pass on to your heir, you can pass on basically like your abilities, skills, stuff, like all the stuff that you have attained as that character, then get passed on to your heir. So it's like a really interesting way to move through time, move through like multiple protagonists that are part of a lineage of some sort, and it's just a really interesting mechanic that I'm surprised more games, at least that I've seen, haven't really tried to do something like that, because it just seems like a cool way to kind of play with time gaps and family lineage and stuff like. It just seems like a very organic thing that more games should maybe play around with. It's kind of bizarre that they haven't.
Yeah, they really play around with like what it kind of means too, because you have like, it's got a story, and it starts with these characters, and they're kind of the start of the lineage. But then it's like full on silent protagonist mode from that point, pretty much. But it's like to trigger a time, we'll call it a time skip. Like there's different ways for that to happen. So like there's basically like when you are a sitting emperor, your guys will come up to you and be like, hey, this problem is happening out here somewhere, or there, there's something going on here, like some pirates are causing trouble here. And then you've got like your main goal, which is to like seek out the big bad guys. So completing some kind of quest or storyline or whatever, it can either be like you took down one of the big bad guys, or you solved a problem over in some area and that affects like your income, or you solve a really big problem and you end up like annexing territory for the empire. So if you do enough like capital P progress, it can just be like, okay, now it's 150 years later.
Yeah.
You can also get killed in a fight, and that will be like, oh well, that sucks, sorry, I guess it's time to move on to the next emperor.
Yeah.
Or something else can happen, you can end up like abdicating the throne for an entirely different reason, and it's still just like it goes forward.
Yeah.
And so like not only is it like a narrative device, it's also like a life system.
Because the life system thing is another thing that like permadeath exists in other formats and other ways, but like the way it kind of exists here is like different party members will have X amount of times they can die in a fight, and if you hit that 0, they're
done, they're gone.
Yeah. So
you have to replace them.
It's as someone who like, I like Fire Emblem a lot, but the permadeath thing to me is like, just the way I play, I'm gonna save scum anyway. If like, I just don't want my characters to be dead, so like that's for me. I just play that way in Fire Emblem. But this gives me more of like a kind of I'm gonna gamble. Like they have 12 lives, so we're gonna roll this out and see what happens. And I'm not as tied to that as much. But I don't know. I haven't had anybody fully die yet, so maybe I will be like, you know what? I'm gonna go back a little bit and save this person. We'll see. But it is an interesting way to handle permadeath that I actually really appreciate.
It really makes you think about like the risk of like pushing forward versus pulling back. And with the Emperor, when they lose all their LP, like it sends you the next generation. And the game doesn't really tell you this. I wouldn't consider it a huge spoiler, but there is a final Emperor, and you actually choose that character in the beginning. But that's basically a sign that you're out of lives. And if you lose all your LP here, that's just game over.
Interesting.
So yeah, so it's like your way forward, but it's also like you've only got so many extra chances built in as well.
Yeah.
And in the original game, it's much harder. So that sort of risk of pushing forward is you can feel it a lot more. It's also baked into the story. So like there's certain it's called the free scenario system, which basically just means it's like an open world non-linear story. So you can like you go to a new area and there might be a whole new side quest you can get involved with, just like any video game you play now.
Yeah.
But in the original game, like there would be we call them like flags, basically things that can affect how events will show up or how they will progress. They're sort of like individual yes no kind of flags, and it's simplified here because they don't want these things to happen to you anymore. Back in the day, it could be like, oh, I'm in the middle of this quest, but like things are looking kind of grim. One of my guys only has like 2 life points left. Everyone's low on MP. Maybe I should go heal. And so you leave the area to go heal and come back, and it's like, sorry, but this quest progressed without you because you left. Things got fucked up. Too bad. Now you have to deal with the consequences there. Really smart stuff for like a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah. No, it kind of seems, and again, I'm probably like 10 or 15ish hours in. Is it like a 50ish hour game? Is that
upwards of like 60 depending on how much you get into it? Yeah.
I would say that I'm still relatively early. Like I'm having a great time. I'm really enjoying it, but it does seem like, a lot of the systems that are in place, both just on the gameplay side, but just even as how story progresses and side quests and stuff function, seems very ahead of its time in a lot of ways.
I would say so, yeah.
So I'm I'm excited to continue to play. I'm excited to get further through. I'm really enjoying my time with it. It is something that has made me kind of like take a step back and go, fuck, I've been sleeping on SaGa. Like SaGa's been something that maybe if this one is this good, then maybe this is a series that I need to reevaluate my relationship with going forward. As somebody who hasn't played a SaGa game, I feel like this is a great starting point for could be a great starting point for a lot of people. It seems to be a great one for me. I'm very invested in this game and already kind of looking past the forest to see like, oh, where can I go next? What would your recommendation be for where to go after this if I wanted to continue my journey through SaGa?
I think this is the part that like I'm really unsure about and kind of scared about, because like this is definitely like the tailor-made ideal starting point for SaGa, because of everything we were saying before with like information, which is really great. It's really awesome to have such a like approachable game for a series that's known for being difficult to get into, kind of scaring people away at the gate kind of thing. But the problem with that is like
the other hand.
Yeah.
Now it's hard to go back.
Yeah, it like if you enjoy what's happening here, and part of that enjoyment is like I know what's going on. You go to a different SaGa game, you're not going to have any of those guardrails at all, and you're going to be in a series that, despite it having a very good reputation in Japan, was still often coming out with either very experimental mechanics or just like identifiably lower budgets, messier games, really interesting games, but messier. And it's an interesting situation as someone into these games. There was a brand new SaGa game that came out in March.
I was gonna say Emerald Beyond.
It's crazy enough to have one new SaGa game in the year. Having two is unheard of. And the one that came out early in the year is like the main SaGa team, and that's them going as hard as they can in the other direction, in terms of like taking chances and trying new things and doing weird things with like structure and like story and how you play an RPG. And this game's a lot more traditional in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So I think my concern is like, it's easy to look at this and go like, oh man, like people are going to be SaGa fans now. But the monkey paw version of that is like, oh, I like this one, but I'm still just gonna, not acknowledge that the other ones exist, or still kind of like not even try them, or still at least be kind of like hesitant or reluctant to get into them, which is understandable for sure. But I think best case scenario, people try this and they're like, oh, this is really interesting, and then they kind of like, well, I'll try this other one, and maybe like just have like a kind of reasonable frame of reference of like, this is going to be very different, but still doing a lot of the same things that are interesting about this one, just with more friction for the player to run into.
Yeah. Do you
okay.
do you hope there's a world where this does well and they're like, oh, maybe we should give this treatment to another SaGa game?
I think it'd be really cool, like if this does well, if they just did like the next one, because like there's a Romancing SaGa 1 remake that came out on the PS2, but was like remastered fairly recently.
Okay.
It's called Minstrel Song.
Okay.
And that's like it's a PS2 game. It's a SaGa game. So it has like it's quirks about it. It's still much friendlier than the Super Nintendo version, and it's got even more kind of things baked into it. But it's still not the same level of like production value and friendliness and stuff as this one. But like Romancing SaGa 3 is there. That would, I think, make for another one of these.
Yeah.
That also has a remaster, but like, why not? If this does well, just move on to the very next one in line.
Yeah, seems like it makes sense. A logical step.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have some faith back in my mind on Square right now, because it does just seem like they are taking more care outside of Final Fantasy. Like, it seems like Dragon Quest is getting a lot more worldwide pressure to be a thing, and they obviously did Trials this year, so like Mana, or not Trials, Visions of Mana. So Mana seems to be a thing they're trying to push a little bit more for. So, like you said, we got 2 SaGa games this year, a new one and a remake. So hopefully it's kind of just, hey, we have these other things that, do have their fan base. Can they be, given a better chance, given a better shot? Maybe some of these older games get a better look. Put new games into the fray with SaGa Emerald Beyond and Visions of Mana. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake is next month, so there are things that they're trying to do, and hopefully they pan out, because I would love to see some of these things, Dragon Quest specifically, get a little more love and attention outside of the core fan base.
And I think, like, if you look back, it has been pretty good, like, positive momentum for those like old school kind of games from Square Enix. Like, it's really easy to look at like the headlines about like their unrealistic expectations, blah blah blah. But then
that's what I was going to say, because that's all I ever see with them. Is it like this didn't do what we hoped it did? Like, it's like nonstop.
Exactly. And the stuff about them like canceling projects that they were kind of quietly working on and stuff. But like with SaGa specifically, it's like there was nothing, and then they like tried those little remasters, and those seemed to like catch them by surprise, doing well. And part of that was like putting it on PC and on the Switch, and people just show up for stuff on those platforms.
Yeah.
And this is like right after the 360 era where everyone thought nobody wanted to play turn-based RPGs, which is obviously bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So those did well, and then they started doing more remasters, and then they did a new game, and then like another couple of remasters, and now here we are. So it's been like
a slow climb.
So and they haven't once said, these aren't doing well, and they keep giving them green lights to do them. And this game has a production value that's really impressive. I found myself thinking, like, man, what if like you can't get away with doing a new Final Fantasy that probably looks like an old Final Fantasy, but like obviously they're spending too much money on these games. But what if they made one to look kind of closer to this? You know what I mean? Like maybe a little higher on the food chain, but not $200-300 million.
Yeah.
And could you still call that like a core Final Fantasy, and get away with it?
I think
that would probably be really good.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy specifically too has like so many unique characteristics stylistically that they could lean into, and I think that's why specifically, Nintendo finds some success with certain things, because they choose like a stylistic approach to a lot of things, and they lean into it. Like, is Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom the most graphically beautiful thing? No, but they choose like a art style, and they lean into it, and they move in that way. And I feel like Final Fantasy could very easily pivot to, a game that was very, a specific art style, specific movement, and I think it would work really well for them. I mean, they have very unique character and enemy designs, and there's a lot of things that they could play around with that I think would benefit that in a big way. I mean, Visions of Mana is a stylized game. That game's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure.
They could absolutely take that route with a Final Fantasy game. I mean, I would love for them to even go like way more off base and like maybe do something that was like in a mono art style, like as a game. Like that would be something they probably would never do, but
yeah,
I would show up for that. I'd be there day one. I'd be ready for that, whatever that was. I mean, with the angle they're taking with, I mean, you got Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, you got more HD2 remakes with Dragon Quest. I would love for them to also maybe let's make a new Final Fantasy that is a pixel game. I don't think they would do that, but it would be cool. I think people would show up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like people can be very weird about Final Fantasy in the same way people can be weird about their other like big franchises, but like there seems to be this like who's gonna pull the trigger first on like being okay with Final Fantasy not being the super realistic or realistic level of fidelity blockbuster. Like Square Enix brave enough to be like, okay, this one, here's the 17 or the 18, and it doesn't look like a Ubisoft game or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
or the fans going to be the first ones that like ask for that.
Yeah, it's
you don't know.
It's a thing that I don't expect them to do. I mean, it's very. It always makes me think of when Nintendo showed off what was supposed to be Wind Waker, and it was like a more realistic looking. And then when they reintroduced it as what it was, there was like people, what is happening right now? But then looking back, everyone's like, I love Wind Waker. I love Toon Link. I love this. I love that. And it's like you have to really want to take that risk.
Yeah, exactly. It's a risk.
Yeah.
But if you look at the headlines about the unmet expectations and stuff, I think there's corporate speak you have to look through. Final Fantasy 16 certainly was profitable, just not profitable enough.
Yeah.
And then I look at Tomb Raider, and I just think like everyone fucked up by thinking Tomb Raider is worth more money than it is, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think there's more like doomsdaying with that stuff than there actually is reality.
Yeah,
I guess if that makes
for
sense.
sure.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts on Saga? Anything else you want to mention before we move on? A plea to the listeners of why they should play Romancing SaGa 2 and or the Saga series.
Yeah, I think like if you like RPGs in the style of like your Final Fantasy, your Dragon Quest, even like your Personas or whatever, Saga is like a game that sort of looks like those, but doesn't play by the same rules. And I think like if you're looking for something new, and you kind of like come at it with like a little bit of an open mind, I think like in the long term, like these games are really rewarding in terms of like what it gives back to you for the time you put into them, in a way that's like more passive than the other games like it.
Okay. This game is it's like a standalone story as well, right? Like you can, this is a great jumping in point. Is 3 a sequel to this game or no?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure none of them are connected at all.
Oh, any of the Saga games?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but that's also very Final Fantasy for the most part too. Like they're.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very much in the vein of Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So Dragon Quest is like their only like marquee franchise that has kind of a, at least sort of, because they take lineage outside of one game and push it to.
Yeah, they're kind of loosey-goosey about it,
Yeah.
but they do have some connections, and they get like meta about it later. It's silly, but
yeah.
Yeah, with Saga, I think the cool thing about that is like the same guy has been in charge of that series this whole time.
Okay. Even still?
Even still.
Okay.
Yeah. His name's Akitoshi Kawazu, and he's been the director of the series the whole time. And so you can kind of see the idea. So he started. I want to be self-indulgent for just like 30 seconds.
Of course, go for it.
He was the combat designer for Final Fantasy II, right?
Okay.
And that's the one that everyone's like, oh, that's the weird one and the black sheep of the whole series. And if you go back and play Final Fantasy II, you're like, holy shit, this is a Saga game. Just in terms of like your character's stats go up separately based on like their participation in battle and like what you equip them with and all that stuff. It's like you play that game, you play this game, you're like, oh, I can see.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So you can kind of like look at each game and they all kind of they have their different ideas and stuff, but they're also all playing around with very similar like questions in terms of like playing with how characters progress and how you orient like a story structure in an RPG that's like built to be different every time you play it. If you play it multiple times, it's like you can, if you go to each game, you can like see that. And it's really interesting. And that's a lot to ask because that's a lot of games.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But if you end up getting into it and going back and going through them, like it's something you can actually like really see. And I think that like you just don't get that a lot, especially in games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like that's a more sicko level thing, but that's something that really appeals to me about them too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely foresee myself dipping my feet into another Saga game when I'm done with this. Probably not right away, but I like this will not be my one touch of the Saga series. I'm very much enjoying myself. It's a well-made RPG. I'm always looking for a good turn-based RPG because there are so many amazing ones, and there are so many games and series that I've barely interacted with, and this one is, again, like I said earlier, I aggravated with myself that I've never played it, and I'm sure someone like Cam will be mad when I am not playing Trails instead.
That's fine.
Someday I'll touch that series as well, but I'm happy that I'm getting my chance with Saga now because I think this is another gem in a very stacked year for RPGs. Like this has just been a great RPG year.
It's been wild, so many.
Yeah, and I don't know how I'm gonna find any more time to play the rest that I need to either finish or the ones that have yet to come out. So it's a mad dash to the end of the year to see what I can actually get my time in with. But Saga for sure is the top of my list until I'm done with that one. So looking forward to. I was playing it early this morning too. I was just laying in bed because I'm playing it on Switch. I don't know if you played it on Switch or PlayStation or Steam.
I was playing it on my ROG Ally. Yeah. So PC technically.
Nice.
Still handheld.
Yeah.
Perfect handheld.
Yeah, it's a fantastic Switch game. Like I can't speak to the performance or fidelity versus other platforms, but it's getting the job done for me, and I'm really enjoying myself with it. So
this is why I need Xbox to make a handheld, because I'd play a lot more of these games if I had that for my Xbox. Like like just give me something.
An Ally.
That's it. It's that simple. That works. It's like
I can play Xbox Game Pass games on my Ally.
Yeah, he does that, but he also you play a lot of Steam stuff now that you have that. Yeah, got to do it.
Lucas, you also
works pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I think.
How much is it?
Go ahead.
They were just on sale over the weekend, but I don't remember how much they were on sale for. I think mine was $500.
Oh, is that okay? Oh, they're expensive. I was expecting that. Yeah.
But it has. You can play. Can you also play like PlayStation Remote Play as well on it? You can, right? Yeah. So
at that point, I feel like I'd get a what's it called? A Steam Deck.
I don't think you can do the other things on Steam Deck.
Steam, yeah, I think the Ally you can pull these things off because it's basically a Windows computer in a handheld form factor. Steam Deck runs technically a version of Linux, so like it's not. You can't just run Windows applications like Game Pass.
Yeah, so you would probably personally enjoy
benefit more.
Yeah, that being able to play, Steam stuff, but also Xbox and PlayStation in that regard. Which is weird that you so badly want this because you're like lately Mr. Anti-Switch. You're like you don't want to play anything on the Switch.
I don't think I just only want to play exclusives on Switch. That's what Nintendo's for me. Like, like that's pretty much it. Like, give me. I just want Animal Crossing. Just fucking give me a new Animal Crossing, please. I'll play Switch more than anything if they give me that.
You're a sicko. You're a true sicko. Well, that'll do it, I guess, for SaGa. I will probably personally chat more about SaGa in a future episode when I get to the end of the game. I'll kind of give my thoughts on where I'm at when I've gotten to that point. But this was a great conversation. I love when somebody who knows way more than I do can speak to the thing that we're trying to chat about. And you are the foremost. I don't think I know anyone else personally that likes SaGa this much, and we do interact with a lot of mutual people, and I don't even think any of them really dabble with SaGa. I think you're like the SaGa guy. I don't really know anyone else who plays SaGa.
I've been trying really hard to make that like my thing. You're supposed to find a niche, and roll with it. And I don't know if it's the smartest niche to pick, but
go down with the ship.
Worked out.
Yeah. Is this? I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to give an answer. Is this? It's a notch below Dragon Quest for you, though, right? Like Dragon Quest is your thing.
I think with Dragon Quest, there's definitely like way more like sentimental value.
Okay.
In a lot of ways, I think like SaGa, like it's like exercising my brain more when I play those games, and I really like that feeling.
Yeah.
So it's like really deeply interesting, whereas like Dragon Quest is like comfort food.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But also not like, to be clearer for people listening, like you don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like Dragon Quest is still fantastic, but but I get what you're saying is how that hits that sort of groove for you. I get that.
Yeah. It's just like the vibes for Dragon Quest are just immaculate.
Yeah.
That's never gonna change.
Never. Sweet. Well, before we wrap things up and play the game and end the show, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show, Lucas. It's always a pleasure to have you around these parts chatting about stuff. Whatever is out there that you want to plug or not plug, or whatever you want people to interact with you, find you, however you want to plug yourself now. The floor is yours.
Sure, yeah. You can find me on socials at Hogatono Lucas. I'm trying to be active on Blue Sky now, so that seems to be the right thing to do, so to speak. And Twitter is just worse and worse.
It's fucking all the worst.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It really is.
I came to Twitter late, and I'm like, I got like a tail end of it, and then it's like, oh, it's shit. It's like.
Yeah, it's been weird to wrestle with, like in my situation, and Brenden, maybe for you as well, just because like it was so good for like networking and like
it really was
things to do professionally in our space for so long.
Yep.
And it's just been really hard to adjust away from that,
because there is not a similar, like nothing else has the same, it just doesn't have the same. Regardless of whatever happens with Twitter and where it's at, it's like where people choose to disperse after that or not go somewhere else. It's like you don't know. It's very difficult. Like I've met so many amazing people that I call friends through Twitter. Like that, it's always kind of been a great way for like-minded people to share thoughts on stuff and interact in that way, and I don't think any other social media has done that for me in any meaningful way, so I get that. I've been opening Blue Sky more often now too, and I'm like, it's still not the same, but like it does seem like that's maybe where a lot of people were going to end up, so
seems like it for now, but yeah, that's probably where like I'll still like post links and stuff on Twitter, but think that's where I'll be. And then just in terms of like my work, if you want to check that out, shacknews.com is kind of my primary residence. Most of my reviews are going to be there. They just don't tell me no. So it's like, hey, this Wizardry mobile game just came out. Can I review that? And they're like, I don't know what that is, man. But
Sure, go for it.
Like, yes, please. So yeah, that's where most of my stuff is. I've popped up elsewhere, like Kotaku, occasionally. But yeah, it's go to Shack News, look me up, and that's where you'll find I write better than I speak. So if listening to this has been okay, it's even better when my voice is involved.
You are one of my favorite writers. I like reading your stuff. It's a pleasure to be able to call you a friend and chat with you in person and on the internet, because I think you're very talented. So definitely seek out Lucas's stuff. It's always a pleasure to read. One of the ones where it's like, oh, when I see Lucas is reviewing something or writing something, I'm like, that's a easy bookmark. That's a read that later, no problem.
Thank you. Really, thank you.
Of course. And as always, with all of our stuff, you can find everything we do at passthecontroller.io. So head there if you want latest things we write or drink recipes or whatever other nonsense we get up to. All that stuff is linked out from our website, so you can just check that out super easily, as we do with every show. Which we probably haven't done this on an episode that you've been on, because it's mostly been either just like special episodes or spoiler casts or something. So normally we end the show with a game, and we have a year-long leaderboard that we keep track of. And there's a separate guest leaderboard for when guests are on. So you potentially have the chance to surpass or tie or at least get on the board on the guest side of things. So the leaderboard as it stands for the year is Dom is still in first place with 52 points. Todd is in second with 43. Mike is in third with 37. And because we have Lucas tonight, the guest leaderboard currently stands with Cam Hawkins and Ken Shepard tied in first with 2 points, and Eric in second, or I guess third place with 1 point. We have not had a lot of guests this year. Very clearly, but we've had other guests, but they must not have got points. Anyways, so the way this will work tonight, we will do just because we ran a little bit long, we're gonna pivot to gaming the meta. And the way that this game works is I picked 3 games. We're going to pull up the meta score, and it's whatever the most review platform is. So if it's a multi-platform game, whichever platform has the most reviews, whoever guesses the closest to what that meta score is will get the point. If anybody gets it on the nose, they will get double the points. So let me pull up this. We have like a rotating, like different types of end game things that we play, and we kind of rotate back and forth. So we'll do this one because it's a little bit quicker than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones take a lot more time, and we are running a little over right now. So let's see. We will start with since it's Halloween season, we're gonna stick with some horror games. So we will go to Resident Evil 4, and we're gonna specifically do the GameCube version. So 2005 GameCube exclusive. Resident Evil 4. We will, you're our guest, Lucas. You can go first.
So this is the critic score?
Yeah, so we're going to go critic score off of Metacritic. So where do you think this lands? The 2005 GameCube exclusive version of Resident Evil 4. It's part of the Capcom 5. Capcom 5? Capcom 4?
Capcom 5.
5, yeah.
I want to say like I'm going to go with 88.
Okay, 88. Mike, what are you feeling? Resident Evil 4, Mike.
Resident Evil 4 GameCube exclusive. Ooh. Let's see. Cube. It's got 4 sides. Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
Something happening there. 94.
Okay. All right. 94. Don, what are you thinking? Resident Evil 4.
95.
95.
You're a piece of shit.
I know.
Todd, take us home.
My guess was even very good.
What are you thinking, Todd?
I'm glad that everyone went because I can think. I'm pretty sure this game's in like the top games of all time on Metacritic. Like it's like up there, but it's not. But there's like a line. There's a certain line you gotta fucking draw. I'm gonna say 97.
97. Okay. Well, a lot of very close guesses here. No one is on the money. It is a 96.
God damn it.
So with Todd and Dom being one apiece apart, we'll split the point there. So you both get a point for Resident Evil.
You should have just stepped up to me again, Todd. Like
What's that?
Mike. I said you should have just fucking blocked me in like I did for Mike.
I didn't even think about that. I know Tony Hawk's like or Ocarina of Time. One of those two. It's like, and then like Resident Evil's like 3 or 4.
All right, I'm gonna throw a little curveball. We'll stick with horror games, horror adjacent. We're gonna move on to game number 2, which is Dead by Daylight.
Knew you were gonna do that.
2017. Because it's multi-platform, we'll go with the most reviewed platform, which is in this case the PlayStation 4. So this is the PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Review.
That doesn't include like updates. It's like they're like
that's
reviews.
what I was just gonna ask you. When was the most recent review?
Let's take a peek.
Yeah,
let's take a little peeky here.
It
looks like these are all reviews from 2017. So these are launch reviews of this game for the most part. It looks like, at least for the PlayStation score.
That's too bad. I think that Nick Cage update would actually bump up the score quite a bit.
Why, you think it's a low score, Mike? You're going first. So what do you think, Mike? Dead by Daylight.
PlayStation 4, right?
PlayStation 4. Yep.
Dead bod. I'm gonna go. Ooh. It's the first big. Now, was it like the first big asymmetrical, or was there something before that?
I mean, there definitely have been other asymmetrical games. I think this is probably one of the longest running ones. I don't know if it's the biggest one of all time, but it still is running and has active player base and recent collaborations with outside of its core stuff. So
I'm gonna say 80.
80. Okay. Dom, what do you think? Dead by Daylight 2017.
When Dead by Daylight released, it had no collaborations, correct?
I'm gonna assume no. I don't know, but I feel like it did not have any at the beginning.
Mike, what'd you say?
80.
I said 80.
I won't do it to you again.
Only because he doesn't trust my number. Before he was like, I don't know, 94 is pretty high. I think it could be up there. Now I said 80. I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, fine, 81.
Oh,
good. I hope I'm way off base. I'm dragging you down with me.
What do you think, Todd? Dead by Daylight 2017.
78.
78.
I'm locked in on 78.
Well,
I was hoping someone wasn't.
You potentially have it easy way out here, Lucas. They're all pretty succinct here, so you can either go 77 or lower, or 82 or higher, or if you think one of them's on the money,
or he could hit that gap of 79.
Or
I don't know why
there's one score in between.
There is one missing score in between that.
I don't think we know how to play this game.
No, none of you do. It's really bad every time.
I'm confident in my answer. I thought that the second.
I have no idea what I'm doing in terms of like how to think about.
You're just throwing numbers.
Yeah.
I mean,
it really is just throwing numbers sometimes.
Like with Resident Evil, I was like, that's definitely like a top game of all time. But I was like trying to think about how reviews were written back then, and
yeah,
like how
2005
sort
is a different time for this type of thing
yeah.
too. And this is a weird one too, again, because it is a live service game, so it's like,
Mhm.
you know,
I want to say like 76.
okay.
Keep
Well,
it close.
Lucas is the closest with a 64. I'm sure
Thanks.
this would probably be reviewed much higher if people did like a re-review of this game in its current state, because I think it does have a pretty healthy player base.
I mean, it's been around this long. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I played it a few weeks ago, not by my own choice, but simply because I don't like scary games. So like I don't want to personally play something in like.
You make it sound like someone came into your house and had you by gunpoint. Like, all right, play some Dead by Daylight.
Well, a friend of the show, Alex Van Aken, asked me to be on a stream with other people. I was on the Min-Max like whatever Halloween season stream playing it, and it's one thing to play horror game because I just don't like horror games and that feeling that it gives me, but it's a whole nother thing to be like in that type of setting, that ambiance, that environment, and it's like you are being chased the whole time. Like the thing is you're just being
you gotta turn on those generators.
It's
turn on the generators, you know.
It's a gameplay loop that I don't dislike, but
I feel like it's only good playing with friends.
Though. Yeah, I don't think I would personally play that unless I was playing with only people I knew, and even then, I would rather play something else.
Right.
But it was fun.
We're gonna play Dragon Ball. We're gonna play the Breakers.
I mean, I do have it.
We all own it.
We do. It was on sale. It was on sale for like $3, so we all bought it. So, it is there. It is a thing that we could play. Why is this doing this? So we got this, and let me pull up this final game. I don't know why this website is being weird. Get it together, Metacritic. Okay. We're gonna take it out of more. I don't know what I'm saying. We're gonna go Silent Hill 2 remake. So released just a few weeks ago on the PlayStation 5.
At that fucking...
Do you know the score, Todd? If you know the score, we're gonna change it.
I'm saying like I definitely was like looking at like a ton and like I'm like fuck, I can't remember what the fuck it is.
So, I thought he was gonna do 5 Nights at Freddy's. I was so close.
No, I can pivot if you think Todd is lying and Todd knows the answer.
I don't care.
Okay.
Even if Todd knows the answer, he's meant to drop the ball. It's fine.
Okay.
Listen, I'm honest.
Dom, why don't you start us off here with Silent Hill 2 remake, PS5, October 8th, 2024.
I feel like people like it.
Maybe.
I need to buy it. I need to play it.
I'm gonna say the first number that popped in my head was 92, so I'm gonna say 92.
Okay. Todd, what do you think? Silent Hill 2 remake.
I'm gonna go 87.
Okay. Lucas, what are you feeling? Silent Hill 2 remake.
93 popped into my head immediately, so I'm gonna go with that. Right.
93. Mike, take us home. What are you feeling over there? What do you think?
Just do it. Just do it.
I should just go and just like 1. I think I got a 1. That'll throw everyone for a loop.
We don't do Price is Right rules, so that actually would never be a good answer. There's probably very few scenarios where that would be the right answer.
I feel like people like Silent Hill 2, and like what I gather from Silent Hill 2 remake is that the parts that are good are the parts that just straight up remade, and like the things they added detract from the game experience itself. That's what I've gathered from what I've seen. So while I think it's probably going to review well, it's probably going to get docked a few points, I'll just go with 90.
90? Okay. Mike's going to toss a 90 out there. I don't trust Todd. I feel like Todd may have known.
I'm going to say this right now. I know. Actually, I should let him go, and then I'll say what the thing I know is.
Well, you're not on the money, but you are the closest. It is an 86. So Todd is the closest and gets the point there.
I knew it wasn't in the 90s. That's all I knew.
Okay. All right. I would say that's still cheating, but
Whatever.
I guess.
these points don't actually mean anything. Is essentially whose line is it anyway? Just no improv.
Yeah. Whose line is funny?
What's the deal? It's so funny.
Wrong thing. That'll do it for this week's episode 443. Again, Lucas, thank you so much for joining us, slumming it over here with us, silly Massachusetts boys. But we will see you all next time.